Screening is the process of identifying individuals who appear healthy but may be at increased risk of a disease or condition. In the case of hearing loss, there is clear evidence that early identification of deafness, when followed up with audiological assessment and intervention, can have a very positive effect on language, social and emotional development of the child. In this context, early identification is before or by 6 months of age. In high-income countries such as the UK, the hearing screen is offered to all newborn infants within hours of birth. Where the majority of births are in hospital, this is relatively easy to implement. The World Health Organization report that, in low and middle-income countries, a high percentage of births are at home or in private maternity homes run by traditional birth attendants. Deliveries outside hospitals in Africa are as high as 95% in Ethiopia, 91% in Somalia, and 65% in Nigeria. And in South Asia, 85% in Bangladesh and 82% in Nepal. It has been recognised that most mothers take their children to immunisation clinics in local community health centres. Such centres, supported by UNICEF, WHO and other agencies, offer free immunisation against killer diseases, but also provide an ideal opportunity to introduce infant hearing screening. Such an approach has been successfully trialled in, for example, Nigeria, India and Taiwan. In a study carried out in the Ivory Coast that linked the hearing screen to an immunisation programme, the main challenge was loss to follow-up. Parents failed to return for diagnostic testing. They cited financial constraints, fear of spouse reactions, lack of information about the test, and about deafness. Recognise that offering a universal hearing screen to all babies would be ideal, but where resource constraints make this unachievable, it may be that screening is limited to children with known risk factors. The challenge with this is targeted screening will only identify 50% of babies with moderate to profound hearing loss and thus miss 50%. Hearing screening can be carried out using a test which is both quick to carry out, safe and valid. This means it will identify the majority of babies with a mild or greater hearing loss and exclude the majority of babies who are hearing. 2 approaches are used. 1. Otoacoustic emissions or OAEs, and 2. Auditory brainstem response or ABR. OAEs are an electrophysiological measure that uses a small probe in the baby's ear to measure the inner ear's response to clicks. The response is measured automatically and provides a clear pass or refer result. OAEs are non-invasive and it takes about 1 minute to complete the test. The test limitation is that response is obliterated if the baby has vernix in the external ear canal or any middle ear fluid. The auditory brainstem response. ABR is an electrophysiological measure of the function of the auditory nerve and brainstem. It is measured when a baby is asleep or may be sedated. 3 surface electrodes are used to measure the response to click stimuli. The ABR predicts the hearing levels in the mid to high frequencies of speech within 10 to 15 dB. AABR, automated ABR, is designed for use by screeners and provides a pass-refer result. By using a combination of OAEs and ABR as 2-stage screen, it has been recognised as both a quick and acceptable way to assess hearing in newborns. There are major challenges to early hearing screening in low middle-income countries. The lack of trained audiologists, teach the deaf and speech and language therapists is a problem. This means that the detailed audiological assessment, fitting of amplification and the provision of a support package is unlikely in many low and middle-income countries. Children will be identified as deaf at a later stage, with the parents facing ongoing uncertainty. There is evidence that parents prefer to know about deafness earlier rather than worrying about the type and degree of a child's special needs. School-age hearing screen may be particularly useful in low and middle-income countries, where lack of early testing means many children will not have been identified. Such tests need to be simple to perform, be inexpensive and have no particular demands on the children involved. Children are instructed to listen to a sound and on hearing it to raise their hand or drop an object into a box. The screen is set at a predetermined level and each ear is tested separately. The testee does not try to find the quietest sound a child can hear. They simply have a response or no response to each sound presented. This is reported to work very well with 6-year-old children in rural Bangladesh when they were screened by trained health workers. Many schools, the problem of background noise can be considerable and make screening impossible. In Lesotho, Uganda, South Africa and the Gambia, purpose-built 4x4 vehicles that provide a sound-treated environment have been successfully used. These are part of the HEART project in South Africa. A low-cost approach to identifying children with hearing loss is the use of questionnaires, used with teachers, parents or community workers. There are, of course, major challenges in that deaf children are likely to be excluded from many educational settings. It is estimated that 20% of children do not attend schools. Families living in poverty also are more likely to have a deaf child and less likely to be able to send their child to school. There is an urgent need for research into low-cost screening methods that are relevant to meet the needs of children living in low and middle-income countries. Education about the causes of deafness, the potential and the rights of deaf individuals, and ways of supporting such individuals is vitally important if parents are to understand the potential value of early identification.